Hey hello everybody, this is Purge and I'm bringing you guys another instructional video. I'm going to be doing how to solo the bot lane. So this is a subject that a lot of pub players on average don't understand very well. It's generally very tough to do. It takes a lot of experience and just general good fundamentals of how to lane effectively, but I'm going to go over a couple things. So first of all, I'm going to start off with PotM. I'm going to basically do just a little segments of games that I've played in the last month or so. I'm going to go over 4 different heroes. I'm going to start off with Priest of the Moon and then move to a little bit more weird ones. I'm going to do Priest of the Moon and Windrunner first, and then I'm going to move into 2 later ones. But I'm just going to keep an eye on myself. I'm actually going to go into player perspective, I think, for myself. So things to look at. No, I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry. Changed my mind. Alright, back to the bot lane. Anyways, things to start off with. Aspects of soloing the bot lane. This is generally a good thing to do because it makes sure that you don't have lanes that are easy to gank. So if I do a dual lane on the bottom, it's generally tough for you to end up laning and not getting ganked a whole lot. Especially if your lane is somewhere in this area, it's pretty easy for somebody to come around behind you and get the gank off. And generally in pub games, you don't always have an observer ward giving you vision of your side jungle. So it's generally pretty okay to throw a solo on the bottom. Generally you're going to end up giving them free farm, so that means Bounty Hunter down here is probably going to get a lot of free farm. But luckily, I will be able to get decent experience. So I'm going to trade some hits here. 1 second, I should reduce the scroll speed because it is too fast for me. Okay, so back into it. I'm going to press play again. I'm trading some hits here with Dazzle. Important things to look at. I have a lot of regen coming to lane. I grabbed 4 Ironwood branches, I grabbed 2 tangos, and 2 healing salves. This is a little bit more of an I don't know, it depends on the player. Some players like going heavy regen like this, some do not. Things to look at. First of all, I checked to see that Dazzle has a lot of regen as well. He bought 2 tangos and 1 salve. This is going to force me to trade less efficiently with him. But I have slightly more regen than him, so I'm going to be okay trading. So I'm going to throw some hits in when I can. In the meantime, Bounty Hunter's last hitting. I don't really have the option to go over here and last hit because otherwise I would be trading hits with Dazzle. So right here, I'm just going to completely trade. We have the same armor levels. We have comparable damage. So I'm going to pop a Tango and do a little bit of damage here to Dazzle. He's going to get retreated back, and that's probably going to cause him to have to pop a Salva. Now remember, I did grab Leap at level 1. I haven't gotten any EXP from the wave yet, but this isn't a huge deal because I have effectively burned 1 salve, or at least a couple tangos, out of the Dazzle, which looks like he's going to eat tangos. So this gives me a little bit of time to actually get last hitting. So now that I have effectively traded with Dazzle a bunch of times, I do want to make sure I'm going to last hit. So I'm going to actually change it over to my view so I can only see what I can see. I'm going to leap past at this point. If Bounty Hunter would have slapped me there, he would have applied the slow, and then I would have maybe been in a little bit of trouble. But I just leapt past, going to continue eating tangos up, and I'll be healed back up in a second. So still don't have a whole lot of experience, but the wave finally does push towards me, so this is where you're going to really make up for your last hits. So important at this point to get last hits if you can. This is one reason why generally pub players don't do as effectively as in a solo bottom situation, because you don't have as many opportunities to get last hits, so it's even more important when you do end up grabbing those. Very, very important to grab those. So I picked up a sacred arrow, I guess it's called, an arrow. You could argue that 2 levels of Starstorm by level 3 is a little bit better of a build, but it's kind of a an interesting point. I didn't go for that last hit. I should have peppered these up. That was a mistake, but looking back, it's a lot easier to realize. Ranged creeps are 2 tower hits plus 2 last hits from you if you're last hitting, if your base damage isn't super high. But in the meantime, Dazzle's done some pulling, as we can now see down here. Bounty Hunter is going to be able to pull the wave past it, and I realize what's going on. It's like, okay, they're obviously pulling. So as a solo bottom, this is the time where you end up being very, very careful. It's so important to be careful, you guys. If you're not being careful on your solo bottom lane, you're going to end up feeding. And if you feed on the solo bottom lane, you're losing the entire point of the lane. The point is to get farm, if possible, with some gold, but most importantly, just never die. So I'm trying to poach the last hits right here. You have to be a little careful doing this. I am going to take that satyr, and it's also very important to grab these melee creeps. If they get killed by neutrals, then you do not get the EXP. So that ogre killing that creep right there, I did not get the EXP for. But luckily, I'm actually almost at level 4. I'm surprisingly a higher level than this Bounty Hunter, despite Bounty Hunter mostly being solo at this point. And since that pull is mostly over, I just go back to the lane. I'm going to do a little bit of harass and a little bit of last hitting in the lane. Now remember, I always am going to have my leap if I get in a bad situation, and more than anything, it's important to play it safe. So picking up level 4 now. There's another Starstorm level that's going to allow me to last hit and stuff. Or, yeah, use the AoE for last hitting, things like that. But generally, I'm just playing it really safe. I'm going to save my gold. I believe this game I went for a phase boots immediately after my item choice. That's because I want a lot of last hitting power, which helps me a lot of damage, obviously, which helps me last hit against the Bounty Hunter and the Dazzle. It also helps me run back to base. It's very important to be able to get back to base. So when you do end up doing a solo bottom like this, you usually just want a really reliable solo, somebody who can not have to worry about grabbing, or not going to have to worry about getting killed very, very easily. So at this point I was playing very safe. My positioning was away from the creep wave. This is because I didn't know where Dazzle was. But now that I know where Dazzle is, I'm going to play it a little bit more aggressive here. I should be able to take last hits, and if I can, that's obviously going to help out. So, backing on up, I'm up to about 800 gold, which is pretty reasonable. I still have lots of regen left over. I have tons of healing that I can do. It's also very important to not attack the creep wave anything more than necessary. Also, doing AoEs is generally frowned upon. That's because if I do an AoE, that means my wave will push harder against his wave than his will, and therefore the wave is going to get closer to his tower, and that puts me in more of a dangerous situation if I ever end up wanting to come up for last hits. So I'm continuing to try to last hit and go for denies and things like that, and he's going to deny one melee creep, which isn't a huge deal, but every little bit helps, guys. So let's compare last hits so far. So despite me soloing a hard lane, I'm up to 14 last hits, 1 deny, up against a Bounty Hunter who's at 19 and 2. I don't know if this is just because he's making mistakes, but this is pretty effective for my last hits so far. If I'm doing 14 versus his 20, I'm pretty happy. I don't know why I missed that range creep, who knows, but anyways, up to 800 gold at the mean, or 1,000 gold just about. Another thing to keep in mind, I don't really want to gank when I end up doing this. You usually want to have at least one hero bot, because otherwise it's going to allow them to push the lane, and that's obviously not a good thing. Do not want them to push the tower. So if I just stay on the bottom here, I still get farm when the wave pushes up to me. Bounty Hunter gets a lot of free farm, but it's not the end of the world. And Dazzle is able to deny experience here since he is doing stack pulling, but it's only working so much. So at this point I say, okay, he's pulling again. I'm going to go check to see what's out. At this point, go through the jungle. You didn't ever want to go through the lane, preferably, because that way you can keep vision of anybody coming behind you. And now, there we go. I see the creep lane. I'm going to need a poison touch here, and I do a Star Storm to do a little bit of harass, but I do take a nice Shadow Wave. That was a great Shadow Wave from Dazzle, which ended up doing a little bit of damage to me. So I pop a salve right here because I was healing up, but Clinks was Bounty Hunter was actually in position for that one, so I took some decent damage from his hit. So that's going to cost me an extra salve here, which is probably the biggest mistake that I made thus far in this lane, but something pretty small that does actually impact things. So at this point I say, okay, I probably need the heal, so I'm going to pick up another arrow. I'm going to pop the last healing salve, and this puts me back up to full HP. So that was a nice harass by Bounty Hunter. But before that, other than missing a couple last hits, I haven't really made a whole lot of mistakes in this lane. And the fact that I'm now level 6, and if we pause this for a second and just compare my level to everybody else in the game, I'm currently level 6. We have a Lifestealer and a Tiny who are both 6. Tiny has not died yet, so hypothetically speaking, he's been doing fine mid. Looks like he actually bottle started, which is not good, but if I can be equivalent levels, I mean, look at the enemy team as well. If I'm soloing the hardest lane in the game, and I'm not dying yet, and I'm getting decent last hits, which I am, I'm at 19 last hits, then you are doing good in your lane. The most important thing is not dying, though. Do not kill it. Do not feed your life. So, very important. Alright, there's the resume. And a second, there we go. Okay, so there's the resume. I'm going to give you maybe like 5 more minutes of me soloing the bot lane. At this point, I think I'm about to buy phase boots here. Yeah, I do buy regular boots. I'll be grabbing phase in a second. Once again, pretty healthy stats, grabbing Ironwood branches here. So +4 to everything is equivalent to having 2 stat levels and a level or 2. It basically puts you a level or 2 higher based on stat levels alone than where you would normally be. So bot lane is now pushing. The important thing to look at is how many range creeps you have. As you can see, I have 2 range creeps. He does pick off 1, which means this wave is now in complete equilibrium. There's equal last hitting potential on both sides. I'm going to Starfall here to do 1 harass. I tried to get the range creep as well, but that failed. I ended up picking up anyways, and also doing a little bit of damage to Bounty Hunter as a result. So now I'm going to back up here. I could have attacked him once or twice there, but I'm going to back up and buy phase boots. So there we go. Plus 24 damage is being put out, and also I have huge movement speed if I need to escape. Very important aspect of this. So if you're soloing bottom, like a hard lane on Mirana, I definitely recommend going for phase. Treads is still going to be an option no matter what, but I think in this case phase is a better option, and I messed up the catapult in there, unfortunately. I hate missing last hits, especially after the fact. So once again, they did a pull, another stack pull, so 1 entire creep wave was denied there. Dazzle's level 4, I came to go check this out here, and now I'm going to pull the creep wave back a little bit, trying to pick up some of the farm. I can Star Storm this if I want to, and there we go. I pick up 1 of the wolves, pick up a second wolf, so it's important to do this if you can. I deny a little bit of the farm potential that Dazzle is able to make, and he tries to actually stack that there, I think, but he messed it up. So in the meantime, back in the lane, I have a ranged advantage over the Bounty Hunter. Doing a couple pokes and prods in the meantime. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit because this is the least important portion of the video. The first minute or two is very, very important. I'm going to actually trade hits with the Dazzle here. I use Phase. Yeah, he's only got a level 1 poison touch. It really doesn't do a whole lot. And remember, make sure, throw in every extra attack you can. If you can do an attack harassing, it's great. Nature's Prophet does use an ulti, which does some good damage, but I'm currently low in mana, so this is another thing that I'm kind of running up against. If you're soloing the bot lane, it's often very good to grab something like a Ring of Basilius because it gives you some stable mana regen for the early game. I believe I end up buying that eventually, but the courier was pretty much being completely used by other people for the first 12 or so minutes, so this was very delayed for me. So at the meantime, just remember, you spend a lot of time moving around, looking around, seeing if there's anybody next to you. You got to be very careful about that. I have, relatively decent HP as a result of having 4 Ironwood branches, but it's not the end of the world. And of course, doing a little bit of tower damage when possible. I probably did just 100, 200 points of tower damage right now, just by auto-attacking the tower a few times, and that's going to make it easier to push later. So, let's back up once again. Keep an eye on my hero, and in the meantime, wave has pushed out as a result of the pulling, so they pulled the wave past. I'm sorry, the wave is pushing towards me because we killed the tower, or because my creep wave went in tower range, so that's why that was pushing on out. So Basilius coming to them, so in the meantime, I do buy a magic wand. I was going for a Basilius. I wanted to make a Ring of Aquila. It's a very good ring, Miron item. So about the Sage's Mask first, I was going to wait until I got the Ring of Protection before I brought the items to myself. That's why it's also very nice to be reliant on the side shop for your items. There's a lot of items in the side shop. I'll pause this for a second to talk about this. There's a lot of items in the side shop that you can create just by being soloing on the long lane. The main items are Ring of Health, probably Energy Booster in case you end up making Arcane Boots. Not something that's good for Mirana, but it is okay for some heroes. You can make Phase Boots. You can make Power Treads. You can make a lot of really good stuff. You can even grab Blink Daggers, Ultimate Orbs, Chainmails, all of those things. So generally, if I wanted to grab a fast Basilius and I didn't want to use the courier, I would just have to purchase a Ring of Protection, which is only available in the shop itself. So I could have brought a Ring of Protection early on. I could have made a Basilius in the side lane and have a little bit of last hitting power and a little bit more regen. But this game I opted for the double tango and the double salve, which I think was a good case. Especially, it worked out very nicely because Dazzle also had a lot of regen, so if I had more regen than him, then it was okay for me to trade early on, especially when I was in the jungle right here at the early part of the game, just trading hits nonstop. That made it a lot more cost efficient. If he had more regen than me, I would basically have to run away every single time he traded hits with me. So in this game's case, it was totally worth it for me to grab that extra regen and skip the Basilius. I think at this point I was doing fine in my lane. So, missing last hits again because that's what I do. And we'll speed this up a little bit as the wave comes back. We're sitting about 10 minutes in the game, so we're getting into the age of the game where laning is pretty much over. But still, as a solo bottom, I could do something like have a TP. Oh, we're gonna see Tiny die. Yeah, he is absolutely screwed here. Yeah, Twisco is in this game. As a solo bottom, I could do TP support, but as a Priest of the Moon, people play him a lot more as kind of a self-reliant semi-carry who just ends up soloing bottom, getting the EXP, getting the farm. Because if I compare my level in the current game, I'm still level 8, I'm almost as high as Tiny, who's had a solo mid, which is a safer lane, and I'm still a higher level than 3 of the 5 players on the enemy team, which is pretty huge. That's amazing. Enigma's died 3 times. So, in terms of my EXP, let's even look at something more specifically. My EXP per minute, right here, 336, quite high. I'm beating out 3 of the enemy players as a solo bottom. I have not fed a kill yet, and I have gotten myself a little bit of farm despite this lane being very tough. Another cool little feature is that when you do play a solo hard lane in a pub game, it's so much easier to get solo bottom than it is solo mid. Not a lot of people like laning bottom because they know what it's like. They've soloed the hard lane, they've gotten killed, and it's not a good time. So Bounty Hunter is now doing a little bit of ganking, so at this point I have a little bit more lane control. I should be able to get more last hits. And since there's been a little bit of team skirmishes mid, but nothing that I really need to show up for, I can just kind of dominate my lane in the meantime and try to pick up some items. So, Courier's still in base. I'm still trying to buy my Ring of Aquila. And Dazzle is going to pull the creep wave past before it does too much tower damage. I should be hitting this tower right now. I'm still a little wary of Bounty Hunter and stuff, and obviously I knew that there was a pull, but I should have been probably right here. Especially I should have my Basilius down here by now, which would give my creeps armor and allow them to tank more tower hits, and I should be trying to kill this tower. Especially if people leave the lane, it's important for me to push. Especially if you're in a very solo lane like this, where you spend so much time in one lane for a really long period of time. If they leave the lane, you got to push that thing. Try to take the tower and try to give your team a gold advantage. So I think that's about it for this video. I'm going to fast forward this just a little little bit to see what happens in the next couple minutes. But I'm going to continue to play safe. I was waiting for my Wraith Band to finish. I did an arrow. I don't know if that was checking for rune or what, but I just checked for rune, whatever. I think that's good enough. So that's a Mirana early game lane. I'm going to hop into the next segment, guys, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, we are into the next segment. This game I'm going to be playing Windrunner. This is the second of the 4 heroes that I'll be showing you guys today. I did random this game, so I have extra gold, and this means I can be a little bit more aggressive with my purchases. So I ended up going with a Boots start this time with a Salve, a Tango, and 3 Ironwood branches. It's a very cost-efficient item build you can go. Now, because people usually get confused about this, I'm just going to reiterate this. Boots start is not a problem if you have enough money for regen or stat items. In that case, it's not a problem. Or if sometimes you solo the bot lane and you're worried about getting killed down there and you don't necessarily have a natural escape maneuver, it's oftentimes better to be able to pick up something like Boots first, which I do end up doing in a later replay that I'll show you guys. So, to start things off with, I am doing a Windrunner solo bottom. If we look at the heroes that they have, we're probably likely to face either Kunkka bottom or maybe a solo Storm or perhaps a Weaver. So I think this game I'm up against a Weaver. I just wanted to keep an eye on the rune, and I decided to stay bottom. So I'm going to hang out in the jungle here. Make sure that you stand in a position where you could see enemy heroes that would be able to gank you. Once again, I do have Boots, and I would be able to skill Windrun if needed, and I could pretty much be able to survive this. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the bot rune, which will be spawning in 2 seconds here. And it is going to be top. So I knew that the rune was going to be top. It's a double damage, but I'm going to go back to my lane. I'm going to go start the blocking. So let's see how good my blocking is. That's something I didn't really talk about in the Priest of the Moon game. I was busy thinking about other things, but usually you want to start blocking a little bit earlier here. If you can, the best thing you can do is let the range creep go first, because this is what I'm doing this game. I'm blocking the 3 creeps, letting the range one go first. I want the range creep to die, because this pushes the wave more than any of the other creeps do. So if I let the range creep go first, which I was very successful at doing, as you guys can see, it's going to take range damage, it's going to take melee damage, and this is going to die immediately. And I denied it, which helps out. So now, this is the part where I start playing a little bit of safe. Weaver does have a shorter attack range than me. He's 425 versus my 600. I have a movement speed bonus, when that means that I should be able to harass him more than he can harass me. It looks like he has a little bit better base damage than me based on his items, so we'll see who can outlast hit who, but the same properties go. If this was more of a pro situation game, generally the Windrunner on the solo bottom would not be this aggressive at the start. You'd be a little bit more worried about ganks, but since I have Boots as well as Windrun, and this is a pub game, I'm not too concerned about it. So, in the meantime, every time he uses Sakuchi, by the way, I run away immediately. I don't want him to be able to do that extra damage, and immediately I throw an extra attack in just to reduce his HP. So, this game is a really, really good example of kind of kiting your opponent. Kiting is a term in video games generally for, imagine that I am the kite and Weaver is the kite holder who has a string. That means I want to stay within a certain range of him and never move that. I want to be outside of his range, but I want to be within my range. And that's something you end up doing in a lot of games. And now I started using Power Shot here. I was trying to do Power Shot Harass to grab last hits and hit him for harass damage, but I made a couple mistakes. And basically, I was being too greedy. If you let Power Shot charge up all the way, it does more damage. If you cancel it right away, it does less damage. So rather than trying to get full Power Shot charges up on this guy, what I should have been doing was just doing Power Shot pot shots, basically, where I do cancel the animation, I let it do half the damage, but it still does a mix of harass on him and on the last hit. So, in the meantime, since he doesn't have a support hero, this allows me to do more of a one-on-one situation. Here's an example of a Power Shot, which I probably should have been a little bit, well, that one was just sloppy aiming, but once again, really putting a lot of damage into harassing this guy. He's going to use Sakuchi on me, and immediately after that ends, I was ready to be aggressive again. So, he's going to back off again. I'm going to take a little bit of creep damage here. I used a Power Shot to grab all those last hits. I did miss the range creep, but that's okay. And denying any creep when possible, especially when I have 2 range. So there, creep equilibrium is once again met. If I want this to push against my wave, I can deny this creep here once it goes below 50. That's one thing I could be doing, which I was not doing here. And I don't know if he ended up getting that one. I messed up that last hit, obviously, but still continuing the harass. He's down to 2 tangos right now. He is healing up a little bit, but going to deny 1 range creep. Range creeps are really good, by the way, guys. They're worth more money than any other creep, at least in the early laning stage. So not including catapults, of course. But continuing the last hit, still being pretty aggressive here since I'm in a solo 1v1 situation. This one is a little bit more of like how to do a 1v1 situation, I guess, than it is about how to solo the bot lane, since I'm not worried about harassers. But there's a good example of another Power Shot where I got greedy and tried to Power Shot it or charge it up the whole way. Man, I'm missing a lot of last hits here. That is frustrating to watch. Oh my god, how many am I going to miss? There's a Axe actually coming. He ends up using Battle Hunger on a creep instead, which keeps me pretty survivable. And I think it was about this point where I eat one Tango and pop a Windrun just to get out of there. I didn't really want to deal with him anymore. I was going to dodge the bugs as well. So I actually took a decent amount of damage. And it was at this point where I said, you know, I just used a lot of Power Shot harassing, which didn't produce anything on Weaver. And I'm going to talk about that for just a second. I just spent a lot of mana power shotting to try to harass Weaver down, but I didn't even get him. And I don't have a Ring of Basilius, so that means the mana pool that I already spent is gone now, pretty much. I'm getting 1 mana per second, but that's really not a whole lot. So mistakes that I made in this bot lane, which I will learn from in the future, is make sure that my power shots also harass Weaver. I did a really good job just auto-attacking Weaver to force his HP down, but I didn't combo that with my magic nukes. And if I don't combo that together, think about how different his HP would be if I landed just 1 more power shot. He would be missing, we'll say 100 HP, or 200 HP. If I landed 2 power shots, he would be at pretty much no HP, he would not have a Ring of Health, and he would have no tangos left. If I would have landed those power shots in combination with the high amounts of harass that I did, I would win my lane. Weaver would have to leave his lane, he'd have to go back and heal, somebody would have to pass him a Ring of Health or something, and things would have gone a lot better for me down here. So that's very important. It's something that I would do in the future, is be less greedy with my power shots. So at this point, Axe is doing some harass. He's got a Ring of Health and a Stout Shield, so I can't really stay too long. So I'm actually going to run away here. I shouldn't have let him hit me. That was a mistake. That could have put me in a dangerous position. But he basically came out of the lane, is finally doing some harass. So as a solo bot lane, I basically said, well, I'm going to wait till the Battle Hunger ends. I'm going to pop a salve. There were no creeps for me to last hit. Axe is going to still pressure here, and I'm going to wait till I'm healed up, and then I'm going to come back to the wave to grab some EXP. So I do have 1 power shot ready to go. He's actually going to do bug harass on me, and I was trying to, I seem to remember I had trouble last hitting the bugs here. Yeah, I was like trying to click on the bugs, but I kept accidentally like 8-clicking the ground and not getting the gold. And then I didn't even get the gold anyways, that was sad. But he's got his Ring of Health now, which means he's getting 5 mana per, or HP per second, which is not good considering the fact that I should be doing a little bit better than this on the bot lane. But on the bright side, I have kind of harassed him down a decent amount. I haven't given him an easy time in the lane, so we can compare last hits in the meantime. I am at 11 and 6. Weaver is at 13 and 3. So this is not as high as it should be. I should be more around 15 or so. But I've gotten a decent amount of denies in, and I've done a good job harassing him at least. So I did okay in this lane. Not amazing. I could have done better for sure, especially in a 1v1 situation. And I should have gotten that last hit as well. Missing a lot of easy last hits. So there's a power shot I finally landed. Hit 1 creep. I canceled that. It ended up landing down on the Weaver and doing a little bit of harass. And there we go. He's already down to 275 HP. I spent all my mana though, so this puts me in a scary spot because I'm not going to be able to pop Windrun to escape if I do get ganked. But currently, if we look at my positioning, it's very, very unlikely that I would be able to be ganked at this point. So denying some range creep again. I'm going to wait to see if we can... Yep, he didn't have to deny me there. But continuing to get last hits, and once again, like the last game, Phase Boots is up my alley because it gives me movement speed to escape, it gives me last hitting power plus 24 damage, is being used now. I can use Phase to run away, and I should be able to harass Weaver down more at this point. So I'm a little worried about the pull. I did know a pull happened. This is why I went over to the jungle. I went to go check the rune because I might as well while I'm here, and I'm going to actually find an Axe here in the jungle. The problem is that there's nothing even vaguely close for me to last hit at the moment. I probably should have just ran back here because I already took half of Battle Hunger damage, and he can actually recast this, which almost killed me right there. If that would have landed on me, he probably could have killed me. He would have done 27 times 16, which is roughly 350 damage or something like that. After magic resistance, probably around there, and I would have died if he would have recasted that. So I said, alright, I'm going to leave my lane, I'm going to go back to base. I use Windrun, I use Phase Boots, going all the way back, and I'm level 6. So Axe did some nice job pressuring me. It's not very typical. I wasn't really able to harass him either because he has Ring of Health, plus he has a Stout Shield, so he's very survivable, but everything went okay there within reason. So at this point, healing up, I grabbed a salve, I grabbed a TP, I'm going to wait till my HP is full, I'm going to TP down, and here's a little trick you can do. As you're TPing in, you're still being regened up by Fountain, so I immediately casted a power shot. So look at that. I basically just casted a power shot for 30 mana. As I TP'd in, if somebody's within range, I can use a nuke on a creep or on a hero, and in that case, I ended up power shotting Weaver. That's a nice little trick you guys can use in mid lane, top lane, whatever lane. TP there, cast your spell, you'll end up only using a certain percentage of mana, and as you can see, I'm already back up to full, and it landed the power shot down, so it did harass him a little bit. So this is pretty much a solo bot Windrunner. There's not really a whole lot more that I can show you guys because at this point it's pretty much just a solo lane. I should have gotten better last hits, but if we compare my EXP in this game compared to everyone else in the game, I'm currently level 6. I am pretty much the highest level on my team. Storm Spirit's been doing really well in mid because he's been feeding on Tony, but Other than that, I'm doing okay. Last hitting, I'm at 20 and 8, which is not terrible. Weaver is at 27 and 6, so he did better this lane, or in this game, than I did. He had better base damage, he has Geminate as well, and I should have been last hitting better. I should have been getting better last hits, basically because of Power Shot. So, that's Windrunner, guys. Alright, I'll be back in just a second with the third hero. Alright, for the third hero I want to demonstrate you guys, I ended up doing a solo bottom Razor this game, which is not something that you probably should try if you're not experienced at this game. So, in this game, things were a little different. The reason that this is different than both Priest of the Moon and Windrunner, it's because I have a hero here who doesn't have an escape ability. I can't leap, I can't use Windrun, which I am a ranged hero at least, but I'm put in a bad spot because I do have to solo the bot lane as someone who doesn't have an escape. So I did not random this game, I ended up picking in a random draft mode. So this game I ended up going for a Boots and a Tango. If you're soloing the bot lane without an escape maneuver, having movement speed oftentimes is generally the best way to get out of there. So, whether or not this was the right choice is kind of hard to say, but anyways, I'm soloing bot as Razor. I've done this a couple times where I just say, screw it, I'm going to solo bot and try to be a badass, and more often than not, it doesn't work out when you don't have either Windrunner or Priest of the Moon. You have to play a really, really solid solo bot lane for it to work out. So, if I didn't make this clear yet, guys, I think I'm planning to put annotations in the videos, but basically, I'm going to link the match IDs to all of the 3 games in the description below. If you guys want to see the match IDs, I'm going to throw them in there so you guys can watch the replays if you want to analyze yourself what I end up doing. So, anyways, things are going to spawn. I'm going to do the same kind of tricks that I've done before, which is generally just going to be blocking stuff. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit here so that we don't waste too much time watching me block endlessly. But so this game looks like I'm just going for an average block, not really looking like the range creep actually didn't really just make it to the front. I ended up missing my block at that point, so here we go. So, at this point, my block was decent. The creep wave is here, which isn't terrible. At this point, I realized that I'm solo up against a Windrunner. Now, the downside here is that I actually only have a single Tango, so being super aggressive is not really something that's going to be worth it for me. So Sven's going to force me back. They have a Sven Windrunner lane, which is actually pretty dangerous for me, so I'm going to pop a Tango. I will have Plasma Field, which does an AoE, which will allow me to get last hits possibly, but at this point I just kind of want to back in, grab last hits, and sneak out again. Now Windrunner, if she really wanted to, she could swing around behind me and harass me, and if that was a more typical support here like a Crystal Maiden or something, that would be a really effective thing to do, but last hitting thus far, not been too good. So another disadvantage to having Boots first is you of course have no last hitting power. Becomes very troublesome to do, but I think in this game it was a decent option for me to do end up going Boots first. I think it was okay in this case. Make sure that your positioning is keeping an eye on the jungle. If you just stand in the lane, same thing happens. People are going to get behind you, etc. At this point, I realize there is a pull going down. As you guys can see, that was a stack pull from Windrunner. Good move. And now I'm going to have to back up and buy some items if possible. I can't remember what I purchased here. I think I went for a fast Basilius or something like that, which would give me a little bit more mana regen. But at this point, I'm going to try to mess around with the pull. I do see that there is a... I did pick that melee creep at least, and I think I tried to take this range as well, which I did snag. So those are 2 good pickups there. That's 2 creeps that I would not have gotten EXP for otherwise. So I'm currently level 3, whereas Sven is also 3, Windrunner is 1.5. So thus far, the lane is going pretty good for me, despite being in a solo bottom situation. I have 7 last hits compared to Sven's 7 as well. This is definitely a good situation. I did harass Sven a little bit here. 2 little hits, nothing really huge though. And skill build, I think in the future I would maybe just grab an early unstable current instead of having static link. Static link is really good when you're in an aggressive lane, and sometimes a defensive lane if you use the spell at the right time, but I don't know, it didn't really work out so hot for me this game. So anyways, last hitting continues. There's another pull coming through, gonna try to steal the last hits. And I do take 1 mud gold. This is EXP. Alright, and then Sven does show up. I use a static link here. I'm gonna not get shackle shotted. Gonna eat 1 Tango and continue to run. Neither of these guys do have boots, so I will be able to get away. Pudge ends up getting the first blood here. I believe he was a solo mid. Yeah, he was a solo mid this game, and did a roam at level 4, which is really weird. Anyways, so level 3, I did 2 static fields, so my mana is empty now. I eat my last Tango, I'm up to 660 gold. I actually think it's very important at this point to grab a Ring of Health, because you want some survivability. And here's one of my first mistakes, grabbing a second static link. I think in this case that was a mistake, because if I would have had Unstable Current, if somebody casts a single target spell on you, it slows them for 0.3 seconds. So if I would have been able to pick up that ability, or maybe even max that out first or something weird like that, get a couple levels of it, or maybe even max like Plasma Field and Unstable Current evenly, I think I would have been sitting in a better defensive opportunity here. So anyways, last hitting continues. I use a Plasma Field to grab 2 last hits there, as well as harass these 2 guys. And currently, the lane's going pretty good for me. I mean, look at this. Sven is harassed down to 500 HP. Windrunner is harassed down to half of her HP. I'm out of mana. I'm out of regen here, so I have to be a little careful about disables. But things are going okay. So in this case, my decent lane principles have put me in a decent spot. I'm at 12-2. Sven is at 10-4, so I'm actually out last hitting Sven despite being in the hard lane. And in terms of the Windrunner is at 4-4, but those are mostly neutrals, and it's very important that I did go and snag those neutrals, guys. If their creeps kill the neutrals, I don't get the experience for them, even if I'm standing there. If I kill the neutrals, I get the experience for them because it's my team getting the kill. So not only do I get the gold by stealing those mud golems, but I also deny them from getting the experience and giving it to myself instead. It's a huge swing in those early little pull situations if you can snag those from enemies. So. Now, last hitting continues. At this point, I don't remember if I go back and buy a Ring of Health or not, but I pick up a 3rd level of Plasma Field, which is currently not doing me anything because I don't have any mana. That's another important thing. And at this point, I do see the Pudge. I'm backing away here. Don't want to get the hook, but there's the 2-second stun, and he is level 5 and barely lands me with my hook, and all of a sudden, bam, my lane gets screwed up. So all it took was one guy ganking, despite me having a really, really good early advantage, and bam, I die. He gets the epic hook off. I basically ran as far away from Pudge as I could, but Sven ended up stunning me, which gave him enough disable to land the hook. What I should have done differently there is probably ran straight up to try to just juke the hook. I didn't realize he was only level 5. If I knew that, I mean, his hook is not that large of a range, so if I realized that Pudge was only level 5 and not level 7, I would have went this way, and that way Pudge would have had to actually hook me. I could have dodged it. I basically ran away from Pudge into Sven's range, and I should have stayed within Pudge's range and gotten out of Sven's range. That's the distinction that I should have made. So anyways, I run to the side shop, the secret shop. I purchased a Ring of Health here so that I can lane a little bit more effectively. Pudge continues his ganking despite just now hitting level 6, which is crazy. So back to the bot lane now. So at this point, I'm at a disadvantage. Sven has more gold than me. He has a boots advantage over me now. So I no longer have my advantage. This guy is a really big grown-up, as you guys can see. He ended up not having Sprout, by the way. As you guys can see, he's level 4. 0 Sprout, 0 ganking. But last hitting continues on the bot lane. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit here. So, playing it really safe. Only getting last hits when you need it. Things come within tower range. I continue trying to get last hits. Beautiful stuff. My HP pool is a little low at this point. Having something like a Vitality Booster would be great, but last hitting has not been fabulous enough. So Memoria is actually ganking here with an Illusion Rune on an Invoker, but they ended up pulling at the exact same time that he came to gank, which is unfortunate. Because at this point, you just assume that they had wards or something, which they didn't actually have. So he's looking over here by the pulse spot. He's going to scout out the Sven, and not going to be able to make a gank happen, especially over here. But he will be able to deny the wave at least. It's going to be one power shot, which will do a little bit of damage, but this is a little dangerous for us. And it looks like Pudge is actually on the way here, so we're trying to deny some more EXP. In the meantime, I'm ended up chasing. I look for the ulti, and I do get hooked once again, so pop my ulti. There's the Dismember, the Cold Snap as well, but I think, yeah, pretty much end up dying there. Not enough HP at this point, and Pudge once again gets a successful gank off. Sunstrike's going to miss. Nature's Prophet finally TP's in, but as you guys can see, he's a really good player, so he has no Sprout. And there's the Suicide, so awesome play by Troll No More. I think that's his first TP, at least on my half of the board. Not that I was looking for a kill before I expected to get one, but I think, yeah, Memoria does end up dying there. So, roaming Pudge starting at level 3 is winning the game. And we basically had an AFK Nature's Prophet a lot, which was very, very unfortunate. Didn't really help our game a whole lot. So, now, I'm down to the bot lane. I've died twice now. I had an good early start, but the ball just started rolling down due to the Pudge hook. So now if we compare my gold and EXP to their gold and EXP, I've died twice. Let's look at the GPM specifically. That'll give us a little bit better information. My GPM right now is 199. Sven is at 189, doing a little bit worse than me, and Windrunner's at 167. So me compared to those two heroes, I'm doing slightly worse than them put together, but as a whole, I'm not doing terrible. Pudge ganks really mess things up, though. If we look at the EXP per minute, I'm at 269, Windrunner's at 289, and Sven is at 285. So you can see, despite me doing a good job early with the last hitting and snaking the neutral creeps and all that stuff, I did fine gold per minute, but I got screwed in EXP per minute because I died twice. This game just shows you how important it is to not die in the bot lane. If I would have had like power treads or something with a ring of health, I might have been able to kill Pudge, or I might have been able to actually leverage the static link, but every time I kept getting bursted down, static link didn't provide anything for me. I probably should have gone unstable current as well as static link. So I'm not going to show you guys any more of this replay because I ended up feeding pretty bad. But if you guys want to check out the replay, go for it. It was basically just a really annoying game with Nature's Prophet ulting on the map every 60 seconds. There wasn't really much place to farm, and since we had a bad early start as a result of Pudge ganking effectively, the game kind of went crappy. So that's an example over here who's not good at soloing the bot lane, where I did it semi-effectively, but all of a sudden I died once or twice due to not having like leap or wind run, and I end up losing as a result. Well, at least losing in the short run in the early game. We did end up winning this game, but it was a lot of auto attacking in the jungle for a very long time before we won it. So, all right, let's move on to the final game. Alright guys, the last game that I'm going to be showing you guys is a Brood game where I ended up soloing the hard lane. So I think this gives you a really good variety of the different kind of playstyles. Some typical solo bots like a Priest of the Moon, Windrunner. I showed you a non-typical, which is Razor, and this is going to be another typical, but with a different playstyle, which is Broodmother. So one quick thing that I want to point out that I just realized is that all of these are dire teams. All of the games that these were, I happened to be on the Dire team. I was never on Radiant, but a couple of quick things to point about the Radiant in comparison to the Dire. I apparently have to do play first before I can. Okay, there we go. So I have now made it visible for both sides. So if I'm soloing the Radiant top lane, you have the option from pulling from this camp. You can do this a couple ways, one of which is to destroy this tree here, or this tree here, and then pull the camp into your wave. If you can do this, it gives you the possibility. You can either do this on your creep wave to try to deny it, or theirs, but either way, it allows you to do something when they pull their wave. If they pull their wave, and your creep wave is about to push forward, you can then pull your wave at the same time, and they're not going to come for you anyways because they don't have a creep wave. It'll be like a 1 versus 1 trade or something. So if they're busy over here, you can be busy over here doing something and grabbing EXP. So generally, this top lane for Radiant is better to solo. Just keep that in mind. So something that I haven't been able to pull from. So I haven't been able to demonstrate that for you guys here, but I don't think it's a huge issue. You basically just remember, I don't know about the times, but kill one of these trees, pull the creep wave directly left into your creep wave, it pulls over, and you can counteract their pulls just a little bit by doing that. So keep that in mind. Anyways, so let's get into this game. I'm going to hop back into the bot. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. So I'm doing a solo Broodmother on the bot lane. Looks like I did pick this hero, so I do not have random gold. And what my item choices are, I think I seem to remember that I ended up trying to go for a fast soul ring here. So I bought the recipe because I don't want to have to ferry it down to the courier. Generally, you see pro players go for a poor man's shield plus a tango. You can't actually afford this by yourself, but if you buy poor man's shield and 1 ironwood branch, that costs all 600, then you have an ally pass you a tango. The 1 tango usually gets you up to a certain point. So since I was soloing bottom, I grabbed a stout shield to make a poor man's shield in lane. You can buy slippers of agility over here. This is why they're in the side shop. Cool, I did not know about this. I seem to remember having switched this over myself, but anyways, on the bot lane you can grab a slipper of his agility. You can make a poor man's shield on the bot lane, and this way I can also buy the ring of health as well as the Sage's Mask, which are the 2 components for a soul ring. As you can see, I can buy all of these components. The only thing I needed is the recipe. So, in soloing the bot lane, Broodmother is a little different than a lot of different heroes. The reason that he is a different solo bot is because he has the ability of being invisible. Generally, what you want to do at the start of the game, something I didn't do here until a little bit late, but you want to clear this tree wave completely. You use your net to do so. The net AoE is large enough to kill the trees. And I don't know why I forgot to do this at the start of the game, but I did. So now I'm going to go do it now, because I ended up remembering. You want this on cooldown preferably, so you can have 2 nets at the start. And I made sure to put the net on all of the trees. All the trees are gone. Now if I'm standing in lane, I can see over here without needing a ward. It's a very important aspect. So I now don't have to worry about people ganking from the side. So as you solo bottom against Broodmother, you should be able to do pretty good. And this is because you're frickin' invisible. If you're invisible, you can come out, attack people, harass, and leave again. Over and over and over again. I'm up against a Phantom Lancer here, and it looks like I also have a Vengeful Spirit, so they have a decent supporting hero for me. But the important thing is, if you want to stop Broodmother, you need to have Sentry Wards. Period. You have to have Sentry Wards at the start of the game. My second net now goes down. I go invisible here. It's important to notice, by the way, that I seem to remember I did terrible last hitting the first 2 minutes or something. I basically had 0-0 last hits. Now, part of it is I was a little scared because Venge had an illusion up, and these do, I think, 33% range damage or something of Venge's base, so they basically do, 17 damage, 18 damage, something like that. No, less than that. It's like 16. I think about 16 and a half, something in that. So they do decent damage, and they have 2 disables. Well, he actually grabbed Doppelwalk first, but either way, I have to be a little bit concerned about getting last hit on. And they have 2 range creeps. This will push towards my wave, which means I might have to worry about not being visible because I don't currently have a net in this area, but as long as I stay at my general net area, it's not going to be a big deal. So despite them having the illusion start, I used a spawn spiderlings there to try to get a last hit. I think I actually missed. I still got a spawn out of it, but I basically wanted this to be able to do a little bit of harass damage. As you guys can see, she's taking a little bit of poison damage here, so just by right-clicking that on the bench, I create a little bit of space for me in the lane so far. And I did end up just right-clicking it to death, which was a little bit of a mistake. I did give her a little bit of solo EXP there, but it's not the end of the world. So now finally, the creep wave is up to my wave, which means I can get some solo EXP. I did grab a little bit of last hits. I think I picked up a second spin web here. The reason you grab generally a second spin web first is because that lets you have up to 4 webs, and it doubles the health regen that it provides. So this will help you get to the next levels a little bit faster. And you don't have mana for early spawn spiderlings anyways, so I played it pretty safe here. But anyways, looks like Venge is going to go do rune control, and it's going to be a haste bot. This is a great thing you can do as a support. Very, very good. If she was playing smart, she would not have bought a gauntlet here. This would be a sentry ward, and she'd bring that to the lane to try to shut me down. So, continuing the last hitting. At this point, I don't really have to worry about taking that much damage. I still have a ton of regen. This is more regen than I really needed. But most importantly, I'm getting 4 mana or HP per second from my spin web. So I'm going to start trading some hits here with the Phantom Lance. He's going to do a little bit of damage to me. I buy a Sage's Mask to boost up my mana per second. I'll buy just a little bit here. 50% is decent at this level, and I'm going to do a little bit of trading once again with Phantom Lancer. He does have a stout, actually has a poor man's shield up, so he's blocking a lot of damage here, and at this point I was kind of like, oh, he's doing some pretty good harass, but that's partially just Spirit Lance there, doing a little bit of nuke potential. So I'm going to pick up 1 spider. I can now right-click the spiders on Phantom Lancer, and something important that I did this game is I always hotkey my spiders to 2 and my hero to 1. This allows me to not have to worry about selecting spiders ever again. Dota 2 does it really cool, where if you select all your spiders and hotkey them, it just learns that from now on for the rest of the game, your spiderlings, or what are the 2 called? Alright, it's spiderlings and spiderites. Spiderlings are the ones that spawn off of your kill. From these, you spawn up to 4 spiderlings. If the spiderlings kill a creep and a spider spawns from that, they're spiderites. Those ones only have 175 damage or HP. So if I select those together and I put them to hotkey 2, it means for the rest of the game, all of my spiderlings are on hotkey 2. That's really important. So that means if I'm worried about dying or if I want to harass somebody, I just press 2 and I right-click somebody, and then I press 1 again and I'm back to my hero. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to the micro, but it's a very, very important distinction. So, anyways, at this point, going to do a little bit of harass on the bench. She did have a clarity potion, so I basically sent those over there to deny the clarity potion. Getting a little bit of last hit in. I did grab that 1 creep, and the spiderite doing a little bit of damage as well. But once again, these all heal up under the web. It's pretty cool. So they all heal up under the web, doing damage to the Phantom Lancer. Again, I did end up dodging that stun there. I saw her coming aggressive, so I backed off, and the stun was in the air, then I went invisible. So totally wasted her mana there, which is actually a pretty big loss, especially when she doesn't have any more clarity potions. So at this point, I put down another web to make sure that I could weave in and out of, have a little bit more control of this area. So if you look at this entire area on the map, which I might be able to draw on here. Let me see if this works in replays. Nope, only in broadcasters. But basically, this entire area of the map here, all of this area, I have control of. I can be invisible in this entire area, and it doesn't bother me at all. As long as they don't have dust, or as long as they don't have sentries or something like that, it's not a problem. So if you really want to shut down a Broodmother, it's important to do it early. Grab the sentry wards at the start. Don't even let me get my soul ring. Once I grab my soul ring, I can now do spawn spiderling harass. I can pick up last hits. I can grab creeps and lots of other cool stuff. So I don't know why I missed so many last hits there. Excuse me. But I got that. Oh, those were denies. Okay, that's why. No problem then. Those are all denies. No loss. I decided not to deny. No problem, guys. Alright, sentry wards are finally down, so they do have vision of me. I don't realize this yet. But it's important to check items as well. I think, unless I checked Venge, yeah, Venge does have a sentry here. She went for a fast bracer, which is not terrible, but it's not that great either. Generally, boots first or a little bit of mana regen is good. But there's the stun on me, looking for the Spirit Lance as well, so I take some damage. At this point, I realize, oh god, they have a sentry ward. So I'm going to run away here. And now I have spiderlings doing some harass. I know they have a sentry, so I'm not going to end up getting too close to them. I can tell Venge has no mana if I select her. We're going to see a stun strike, which almost landed on Phantom Lancer actually, but Spiderite's doing the harass, which I did do on purpose. It's a spawn spiderlings, and I get the kill. So didn't even have to use my soul ring for that one. But spider, you just take the spiders and you right click them on whoever you're trying to work down a little bit. Even with the poor man's shield, he did take damage over time. He probably should have eaten a tango or something, and ended up getting his kill. So now I'm pushing the lane just a slight amount, doing some damage, spawn some more spiderlings. Creep wave gets pushed, and at this point I have a huge amount of spiders. I can just right click them on Venge and do a pretty good damage to her. But I don't remember if I back them off. It looks like I back them off here, so despite them having a sentry ward at this point, I still have a slight advantage. I now have boots up, so I'm extremely fast in the web. Look at this. I'm at this is like 450 movement speed. That's huge. Really, really high movement speed. I have the spiderlings. I'm going to go check to see if they're pulling. They're not pulling. I'm going to spawn some more. And I did take another nuke here by the Phantom Lancer, but that's okay. Once again, I have tangos. I have a salve. It's not a big deal. So I think I right-clicked them on the Mud Golem, trying to pick them off. I don't think that's going to end up being successful, but this was a slight mistake. I basically just sacrificed them to the neutrals, but it's okay. No big deal. Something that I learned from during the game. So, level 7 currently, so max out the spiderlings, 3 levels of spin web. I spawn another creep. I'm going to take chain nukes again, still under the sentry ward, but they don't have enough damage at this point. They basically have this nuke, and they have, they have 2 stuns and 2 nukes. I'm actually diving on the Broodmother, or the Vengeful Spirit there, and I did end up dying this time. So I got too overly aggressive. I basically said, I want to kill this Vengeful Spirit. I put the spiders on the Venge, and then I dove under the tower, did the spawn spiderlings for the kill. But the problem was, the Phantom Lance came while I was still within the tower range. If this was regular invisibility, I would have been fine, but the sentry was still up. That's why I died. If I would have went invisible, I basically made a mistake in assuming that I was going to not be visible as I got to this area. The true sight range is probably about here somewhere, so as I went out of that, I crossed into the second sentry ward range, and then the nuke did end up landing. So that's why I ended up dying there. Too aggressive for sure. That was a case of me being too aggressive and taking a kill that I should have been a little bit more patient about. So 2-1 currently, which means I'm winning my lane. I'm at 19 last hits if we compare this to Phantom Lancers. Phantom Lancers at 26, so he's doing better. He has 1 kill, 1 death, though I did get the first blood. I don't remember if I got first blood. No, I did not. I killed him after the fact. Looks like Venge ended up getting a pretty early kill. But at this point, I'm making a spider army. I can once again right-click this on the Phantom Lancer if I want to. He does block most of it, the poor man's. These do count as hero-based damage, so this does block 20 damage instead of just 10. And I'm going to spawn another net. This one I'm putting under the tower, so this means that I can now weave in and out of the tower range without having to worry about it. It's not a simple go this way or go through this little path here. I can just casually run between spots. And now that my nets are maxed out, I'm actually regenerating 8 per second, so every time my soul ring is off cooldown, I basically want to utilize this. Every time my soul ring is off cooldown, I want to use it and do spawn spiderling harass. And despite Phantom Lancer having a poor man's shield and stuff, I'm actually going to dive a little bit here. I don't remember if I go after him. He's going to get 1 more tango, but can basically weave in and out and use spawn spiderlings to harass. They could see me right now, and I actually just right-click the spiderlings. I blocked him in here on purpose, and I do get stunned from Vengeful Spirit, but here's the nuke, and there we go. I pick off Phantom Lancer. Pretty much just harassing with my spiderlings. So at this point, their only way to win the lane in a normal situation is actually to have... I was going to pop my ulti here. I did take a little bit of tower damage, but... I remember that now. I forgot how close that was. I'm going to take a little bit of creep damage, spot another net. Could have done that a little bit better. In the meantime, right-clicking spiders on Vengeful Spirit, I made sure to micro this, and I do spot out a silencer, actually, which I was like, oh shit, a silencer. And then I came back down. Spiders are still chasing the Venge at this point. I kept vision of that one, and I think she died anyways, so yeah, I am picking that off. At this point, I was scared about silencer again because now I was visible, and luckily for me, he did not get vision in time, so now back into the jungle, and hide, please God, hide. And I almost went that way, which I would have gotten caught, I think. But I'm going to go hide in the net. So luckily for me, they didn't have any more sentries. So at this point, I can just pick apart the lane. So this is an example of a really successful solo bot lane where you get way more kills than you should. And Broodmother allows you to do that. I'm up to 4 kills at the moment, so things are looking really good. And I guess for the sake of this game, I'm just going to keep this going. This is a really fun game for me, so I figure you guys would want to see it because I did really well. So just some general applicable things about how to solo better as a Broodmother. So I'm going to pick up treads here. Giving my strength up, I'm going to switch to agility when I'm last hitting strength when I want to be aggressive. And I can continue the harass up. Phantom Lancer actually does not have a regen source yet. He should probably have like maybe a Ring of Health or something. He's going to do 1 Spirit Lance, which does harass me down a little bit. But I'm not too concerned about this. I'll regen up slowly. So he's currently level 8. So his lance is doing about 250 damage, but picking up some creeps once again. I'm trying to pick up my spider army again. At this point, I realized that I didn't have any creeps to right-click on anybody, and I really wanted that. So we'll pick up some more last hits here. I could also use my ulti to try to get a little bit more HP out of this wave, but it's not a big deal either way. And Nature or Silencer actually uses ulti. I'm not sure. Oh, they were trying to kill the Invoker, but... Anyways, my Spider army is massive. I can now right-click those on heroes. They do a little bit of damage to Phantom Lancer, and now I'm actually taking some good hits here, but... So at this point I realize they don't have detection once again, and I'm going to right-click my spiders on the weak person, which is on the Vengeful Spirit, and these all get movement speed just from being under the net. So look at how much damage Venge is taking here. I'm going to spawn another net here, trying to make sure that they don't have vision to me. He could have Spirit Lanced me and possibly killed me, but look at this. There's the spiders coming in. Once again, I'm going to come in for the kill. And bam, easy kill. You make a big net of your webs all the way around the bot tower, and you're able to just completely control the space. If they don't have AoE and they can't kill my spiderlings, there's no safe place for them. The best thing they could maybe do is try to stand, do a choke point, maybe stand right here, and that way all the spiderlings end up being grouped up. I don't know what this is about. I'm assuming that, yeah, he was talking to his allies or something like that. Someone was probably like, how can you be feeding, and how can you be feeding so much to Broodmother or something? So we're going to see a TP. This is going to be a Shadow Demon now. His skill build is actually terrible. You should not max Disruption first. You should really go Shadow Poison. But look at this. Tons of spiders now. They still have one Sentry Ward, but it's all the way over here. And I don't know if Shadow Demon has any. But now the spiders are going to chase, of course, because I want them to do the damage. I'm actually going to right-click the tower for a little bit here, since the tower is pretty low. They're going to glyph this up. Let's see how I react to this. I don't quite remember. I backed the spiders off at that point. Some of them are about to time out, by the way. Something important. And now I'm going in. There's a spawn Spiderlings again going on the Shadow Demon. And at this point, when he's this low, he's taking tons of spider damage. This should be an easy pickup. I just need to keep vision of him. I ended up trapping him in here on purpose. He does disrupt himself, but still microing. There's a Sunstrike as well, which is going to help out. And there we go. Spiders get the kill once again. Memori coming in for a gank. You might see, yeah, he does go invisible here, but we figured that. That was pretty obvious, so... Now, spawning some more spiders. Tower is still over here. I forgot that it was so low. I think he ends up just like right-clicking it, but... Yeah, he's going to take that out. So, bot tower finally goes down. I've effectively gotten a lot of kills on the bot lane, and now I've taken the tower. So I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. Seem to remember there's another really cool play that I did shortly. And, alright, this is something important to realize. Every 6 minutes, trees respawn or so, apparently. It's at 12:30, I guess, or 12:25. I thought it was every 5, but... Anyways, trees are gone. Alright, so you have to replace nets to make sure that you have vision, so... Now I'm jumping on Killer down here. Lena shows up, but easily gets picked off. Memori's going to take damage as well. I think he ends up dying here. Yeah, the Global Silence was used, but... Trying to pick off the Phantom Lancer. And there's the Soul Ring, trying to get vision, and okay. Just got another kill. So Shadow Demon shows up. I'm right-clicking the Lings on the the Silencer in the meantime. I'm going to go invisible once again. Trying to dodge this Shadow Poison and coming in for the chase. So when people are running away from your Spiderlings, it's really, really important to use to just show up and pop the spawn Spiderlings down. Helps out a whole lot. Also, it really helps to make sure that you don't run your spiders through poison over and over again. Something I was really bad about today, or when I played this game. So there we go. Trees respawn again. This is 13 minutes. I don't know why those are respawning so fast. I don't think they're supposed to. I don't know if that's just the replay or what, but it's supposed to be every 5 minutes. So I kill the trees once again to have vision. Spend a little bit of time jungling when you're on the solo bottom like this. That's the best option to do. Kill trees, man. Just murder them. Alright, and starting things off once again, spawning some more spiders. I don't really want to dive just 4 after Lena. Having a little bit more than that is usually a little bit better, but... Got a net in 6 more seconds. I definitely need a net in this area right here. It'll allow me to chase a lot better. I have a lot of retreat nets, as you guys can see, but that's not really enough. So, and there's a little bit of harass on the Lena. Still some decent spiders going, and finally going to right-click on Lena, I think. I seem to remember I go for the chase here. There's the spawn Spiderlings. And he tried to stun, but missed, I believe. Mana pool is getting a little low. I'm up to 2,500 gold as well, which is really healthy. And now there's 3 heroes, so... There's the Dust, actually, and he's going to ulti me as well. They killed a lot of my Spiderites as well, which is... It was not good for me. But look how much movement speed I have. Lena was unable to get there in times to disable, so all I have to do is run away till the Dust ends. And the Dust does run out, so... Now I can be aggressive again. I'm going to pop my ulti to do some bonus damage here, as well as some lifesteal. I pick off the Lena. I'm going to right-click the spiders on the Shadow Demon. Most of them are out of mana. I can Soul Ring this one, pick up that kill. And now I'm going to trade hits with the actual guy. and that puts me up to a monster kill. So it's all about really balancing out how aggressive that you can be. At least that's how you effectively play Broodmother. Anyways, I think that's about it. I think that was all the cool stuff I did. This game ended up being really, really good in my favor. Of course, once again, check the description box below if you guys want to see, watch this actual replay yourself. But we ended up doing very, very well. This is one of the most stompiest games that I played in a long time on matchmaking. So, anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I think that was a pretty good demonstration. Obviously, the end of the Broodmother replay was me just showing off, but I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot about soloing the bot lane. It's so important not to die, guys. This is an example of me doing way more than I should as a solo bot. If they played it correctly, things would have been a lot more different, but that's just how it goes. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to try to do more of these in the future. Sorry it's been so long since I made some really high-quality content, but I do intend to do it more often. I'm going to try to cast only about 3 days a week or 4 days a week, something like that, for shorter periods of time. That way I do have more time to make awesome YouTube videos, and I promise I'm totally trying to make a PL gameplay. If you guys go look at my recent games played, I've played PL and matchmaking 3 times now, and it just never really worked out. There was a bug with his detection where you could see him, which was part of the reason I got screwed over. Well, and partially because he's a very weird hero. He really does need a lot of lane control. It's kind of unusual, but anyways, thanks for watching once again, guys. Please like the video, share it with your friends if you're trying to help them learn about that stuff, and thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.